Good morning. Like I say, welcome to the Good Morning Walk indoors. um, but unfortunately, well, as I look outside my window today, it's not raining anymore. So I could have risked it. I could have risked it, but hey, there you go. But never mind. We shall continue as always and have our wonderful Good Morning Walk indoors. Maybe not with the ponies today, but hey, there you go. So, yes, good morning to everyone joining us today. As always, welcome. We've got some sort of good stuff lined up for you today. Like I say, because we're doing it indoors, I have as we can see, the ability to show you videos and stuff like that. It's always the fun stuff, the fun trade-offs that you get when you do things like this. But as always, let's see who's in chat this morning. So we got Pretty Bird first. Congratulations, Pretty Bird, for being the first. Good morning to you. Nargil, good morning to you as well. Dave Walker, good morning to you. Cathal OG, good morning to you from Ireland. Catholic, good morning to you. Peter Miller, good morning. Hello from Kiwi Land. Hello to you. Nick B, good morning to you. Chatty Rat, good morning to you. Helen Wilkes, good morning to you as well. And Om Shambles 94, good morning to you as well. Yeah, indeed, Helen. Yeah, Mad Nads, no substitute for ponies. that is very, very true. But yeah, I don't know about you, but we've had a pretty heavy Boris week. We've had a very, very heavy Boris week this week. Obviously, understandably, because of the committee that's happened this week. I think everyone can get behind that. We've had a bit of a heavy week this week with Boris, but I think since this happened yesterday, I think Dorries here is going to be in trouble as well. I really think she is. A lot of people seeing this clip have said that this is contempt of Parliament. And they've been tweeting it not only just at Rishi Sunak, but at Lindsay Hoyle, the current Speaker of the House as well. So there's a very, very big possibility Dorries is going to be in trouble as well. We'll find out on Monday. Like I say, these things normally do take place on Monday, and we'll find out very quickly how much trouble she's in or not. She may get a slap on the wrist. She may not. She may get suspended. If she does get suspended for more than 10 days, well, then suddenly there's a by-election in her seat. And her seat is a bit more safe Tory, but it would be interesting going forward to see how much of a majority the Tories keep in what is meant to be a strong Tory seat, considering all the polls we have seen for the upcoming general election. That's for sure. But yes, some more people coming into chat. Tilly the Coder, good morning to you. Colin Thompson, greetings to you from New York. Greetings from New York. Biden says that the Canadians are going to the moon. Tom Nelson, good morning to you as well. What's this? 60 Tories may rebel over the illegal migration bill. Yeah, I'm not surprised, to be honest. It does seem to be every single bill that Sunak is putting out. There is some rebellion. And I've said this right from the beginning of Sunak's sort of premiership. His entire premiership is being very much defined by rebellions. And in a way, you saw the potential rebellion very much fizzle out. Boris Johnson couldn't get his troops to march up the hill, not even halfway up the hill. The ERG could only muster, by the looks of it, about 20 or so of its members. And then there was a big whipping operation the day before to try and get not these no's to yeses, but no's to abstains. And this is one of the things that a lot of people have pointed out. Now, there are always going to be legitimate reasons for MPs to abstain during votes. Maybe they can't be there. There are legitimate reasons for them to do that. But the fact that there were so many, that's where it gets interesting, because it does seem that people wanted to sort of get this done and just finally be rid of of Boris's protocol once and for all. But of course, the DUP aren't happy. Well, the DUP were never ever going to be happy. We'll get into them just a bit later, because I want to sort of cover what a couple of Heaton Harris has had to say, what the DUP have had to say about this deal, especially now since it has not only been voted but ratified on Friday, I think it was. Now this deal has been ratified, and of course, one of the things that the Brussels has done in response, it has now lifted the banking veto on the UK. So that now makes it a bit easier for UK financial services to operate in Europe. Not as freely as they used to. Let's make that clear. Not as freely as they used to, but now they've got a little bit more breathing room. So that ultimately will be a benefit to much of the financial services in the UK. And as we've said before, much of the UK GDP is taken up by the financial services. So you can understand why Rishi Sunak was so probably desperate to sort out the Northern Ireland Protocol. And as we've said time and time again, doesn't really matter what sort of the Brexiteers said or anything in regards to that. The bigger market always wins. Mithril, good morning to you as well. You're on time. Well, good morning to you. And PE, good morning to you as well. What's my view on 60 Tories rebelling? Well, if it's 60, that's their majority gone. Tilly, I think as we found out this week, anything above 34 pretty much means the Tories majority is gone. That's it. Majority gone. So at that point, they would have to rely on opposition votes to get anything passed if there's going to be sort of something big that they want to do. Paul, if the Tories only win about 40 seats, should we all dig a hole in the backyard for a lettuce and let it rest in peace? Maybe, I don't know. I always say this when it comes to looking at polls for the upcoming general election. By all means, have a look at them, but don't take them as gospel, because sometimes general elections can morph into their own beasts, just as Theresa May found out to herself. Like I say, she went to a snap general election with the polls reporting that they had a 17% lead in the polls. And of course, she lost the Tory majority completely, to the point where she was, they had to go into a coalition government with the DUP. That was the straight up point they had to go into. And of course, we all know what happened then from that point. So never really underestimate what a general election could be about, because everyone thought that particular election, that 2017 election, was going to be the big Brexit referendum, the big Brexit general election. But it wasn't. It was about sort of pensioners and their old age sort of central heating. Again, general elections can be their own beast. So don't underestimate what will happen. Like I say, polls are a good indication, but when it comes to the actual general election, the campaigning, you can never really tell which way it is going to end up swinging in the end. But in terms of 60 Tories rebelling, would Sunak support them? What if Braverman rebels over Sunak bowing down to the rebels? Again, I think it's, you don't know if this bill is going to be that controversial that you've already got 60 Tories rebelling. Probably, I suspect the reason for the rebellion. I mean, again, like I say, sort of news to me about this one, but I think if they do rebel, it seems to be over the illegality of it, and we did see certainly during the Northern Ireland Protocol bill, um, a big rebellion take place over the illegality of some of the stuff that happened in that. What could happen now, if there is going to be a big rebellion, is maybe the bill could be watered down, maybe parts get taken out of it. Again, this is something we'll have to wait, watch, and see what happens on this front. Um, but as we've said before, we have seen rebellions about rebellions. And Rishi Sunak is trying to sort of walk this really light tightrope where he cannot please everyone. He cannot please everyone. So sooner or later, that balancing act is going to break, and it's just who knows who he'll support, who knows which side he'll come down on. Like I say, we won't really know until it happens. I'm afraid. Um, but yeah, there you go. Ben Ridings, good morning to you. Oh, Cavalan 100, good morning to you as well. Oh, Braverman might be gone. She was the ERG woman in cabinet. Yeah, that's true as well. But there were no big cabinet stormouts. There was no resignations, no nothing like that. In response to it, I mean, I don't know if you saw the news as well. Steve Baker got kicked out of the ERG WhatsApp chat. If that's true, that's interesting. The sort of the granddaddy, the guy who sort of reformed, or at least claims to reformed the ERG into sort of a very sort of potent force, as he claims. Again, whether that's true or not, who knows? Says being kicked out of that group. That's pretty important, and it just once again shows just how split Brexit has become, and just how tired a lot of the Conservative MPs are talking about Brexit. But anyway, let's get into what Nadine Dorries has done, because it does look like come Monday someone else is going to be in trouble. It certainly does look like it's going to be Nadine Dorries. So we'll let it play out first, and then we'll sort of comment on it. Hang on. There we go. Is that? There we go. That's better. Oh my word. Hang on. Oh no, it doesn't play again. There you go. What? What a how bizarre. How very bizarre, to be honest. So a lot of people, like I say, this started doing the rounds last night, and a lot of people have been clearly saying that because she is accusing the committee of wrongdoing, again, which is false. They did not change the rules halfway through. This idea of recklessness is not new in this whole investigation. It is part of their original plan and investigation where they took it in. Saying that this committee's finding is going to be sort of unlawful at that point, that's contempt. That is contempt, and it's contempt against Parliament. And at this point, Nadine Dorries could very well. I don't know if it will go before a privilege committee. It's likely. It's likely. But again, what I think she'll go. She's already said she's not standing at the next general election. She's already said she's not standing. So I suppose at this point, why not? Why not? I mean, she's always been sort of a very sort of, true Borisite, sort of supporting him really from the word go. But I fail to see how she doesn't realize what she's done. I mean, we're gonna, like I say, I think because this has been tweeted at Lindsay Hoyle, who's the Speaker of the House, I think action's going to be taken. And like I say, we'll find out on Monday, because Hoyle will at some point stand up and go, "Hey, look, I've been made aware of this video, and we are investigating. Expect that to happen maybe at some point on Monday." To which then at some point he may refer Nadine Dorries to maybe the privilege. I doubt it will be the privilege committee, to be honest. This is straight up a very clear cut case of contempt. I don't even know if they would have to go to a committee hearing at that point. I think she just gets suspended. I think she has her own 10 days suspension, and then by-election. And like I say, I don't think Nadine Dorries would stand in it, because she's already said she's going. She doesn't think Rishi Sunak can win the next general election, which, to be honest, most Tories do not think Rishi Sunak can win the next general election. Why stay then? Why stay if that's going to be the case? I mean, part of me thinks she's done this on purpose. Part of me does think she's done this on purpose because, like I say, she says she's not standing. She knows she's probably going to lose, so why not just leave early, as the saying goes. I think that's why, but I think she's in absolute full blown trouble. I really do think she is in this. Like I say, she's opened her mouth. She's opened her mouth. Oh, was there no sound? Did you not hear any of that? Oh, did no one hear any of that? Oh no. Oh well, there was. Hang on. Let me. Oh, hang on. There we go. Loki's children, what have you missed? Just Nadine Dorries getting in trouble, committing probably contempt of Parliament. David Duro, good morning to you as well. Yeah, there were subtitles. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll play it again so you get the full experience. You too can experience Nadine Dorries. Oh, hang on.
Was going to. I don't think there was ever a world in which this committee was going to find Boris innocent. The committee have demonstrated very clearly that they have decided early on to find him guilty. The committee knew that they had not a shred of evidence to prove that he misled with intent. They changed the rules, lowered the bar, and inserted the vague term reckless into the terms of reference. Boris Johnson will be found guilty by this kangaroo court. There is no doubt about that. And that in itself will be a disgraceful and possibly unlawful conclusion, with serious reputational consequences. The substantial question is this: will they impose the 10-day suspension at the point at which they will find him guilty? Doing so would trigger a by-election and end the career of a former Prime Minister who got us through COVID, got us the vaccines, opened Britain up before other countries, giving us an economic advantage over the rest of the world, and led global leaders to support Ukraine against the invasion by Putin. It is unthinkable that they would do so. But if a committee is prepared to bend the rules and change the course of their investigation midway in order to find him guilty, would you put anything past that committee? I wouldn't.
So, yeah, that is Nadine Dorries. She is in trouble. She is massively, massively in trouble on this, because that's contempt. That's contempt of Parliament right there. She's in trouble. Like, what she's just said there, just questioning and saying, oh yeah, the decision that they would make, unlawful. So she's in trouble. Has she been on the Colombian dancing powder again? Probably not. That's certainly a Michael Gove thing. Yeah. Well, hard to know where to start with that diatribe. Exactly. It's really hard to know where to start. Catholic at the start was the worst. So yeah, it's yeah, she is in trouble. She is in big trouble with what she's just said there. Ugh. So expect on Monday morning for Lindsay Hoyle to say something. If not, Rishi Sunak may be already saying or have said something to her. But then again, this is Nadine Dorries. If Rishi Sunak had said something for her, she probably wouldn't keep quiet about it. That's for certain. That is absolutely for certain. She would not keep quiet about it at all. Full stop. That's for certain. But there is one thing Nadine Dorries is right about. It would trigger a by-election. And if you did I use that video coming out today or did it come out yesterday? I can't remember now. Can't remember my own video schedule now. Boris Johnson is already preparing for the worst case scenario. According to some of the sources from his closest allies, he's already preparing for the worst case scenario. So he is already trying to go and fight a by-election. Now, this could actually cause a lot of trouble for Rishi Sunak, because this essentially puts Boris in the limelight. Like, the Tory party will have to put resources in to fight that by-election. And if, for whatever reason, they do not start saying, shall we put enough money into that by-election, Boris isn't going to keep quiet about it. He's going to start shouting loud and clear. And it's not a matter of if, when Johnson loses, like I say, we'll get to get to our next interesting video in a bit. When he loses, then where does he go? I have said it very, very clearly. I think Johnson is going to get offered a whole lot of money to go on Talk TV, maybe GB News, and become a presenter or a political commentator. And I will tell you this now, Johnson is going to start hurling thunderbolts left, right, and center. Or maybe he gets all that sort of cash from the donors and sets up his own sort of podcast or show, that is very likely. And he becomes sort of a Rush Limbaugh-esque figure in the UK, where he just starts hurling stuff at Conservatives he doesn't like. Because Boris Johnson, for all the stuff he has done wrong, somehow, somehow is still very, very popular with members of the non-parliamentary Conservative Party. He is still very popular. Just a couple of days ago, well, at the start of the week, you remember we covered the poll from Conservative Home saying that they thought the committee would be wrong to find him in, but they maybe thought he was lying. And of course, they would want Johnson to stay as an MP, but not return as a leader. So that was interesting. Yeah, Johnson is a very vengeful and petty person. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. He would. Boris to reform UK? No. If he did that, that would be very interesting, but I doubt if he ever would, because then he would, shall we say, cut himself off from a lot of the Conservative circles, and I think he wants to sort of remain in those Conservative circles. But we'll see. Will Johnson try to get goons to beat up those against him on the committee? He has formed for that, yeah. Very, very true. Who knows? Who knows? I doubt he'd get away with it again. But the big question I think a lot of us have to ask. Oh,
Now,
there we go. So the big question a lot of people ask is, would Johnson be able to win his seat? I don't think he will be able to win his seat, because we've seen a couple of polls from the past saying how dangerous the situation Johnson's seat was in, that it went from being a very safe seat to potentially not being a very safe seat. And that's why we heard all the rumors that maybe he was going to make the switch with Nadine. She was going to step down and then Boris could step into her seat. That doesn't seem to be the choice now. And I think after Wednesday's vote that shows the weakening of sort of like Boris Johnson's power base and sort of the weakening of the ERG, the fact that it's now a shadow of its former self, I think Rishi Sunak now doesn't have to potentially even listen or even worry about Boris Johnson anymore. I really think he doesn't have to worry about them anymore, to be honest. Adrian, Johnson will be quickly disillusioned by Reform UK. He could join just to piss the Tories off. He resents, but he would be the second fiddle to Farage, even if even that. He won't be happy with that at all. Yeah, exactly. He won't. They would clash majorly ego-wise. Farage would love it, but again, he wouldn't want to get playing second fiddle. I could highly see and expecting maybe an interview with like Farage and Johnson. That would be something we would probably watch if that ever happened. That's true. Mithro, while he continue to make pots of money if he's kicked out, it's only a matter of time before he gets caught up in some financial scandal. Not that the cops go after that sort of thing anyway. Well, that's why we need to fund those types of things and fund the judicial system, because that's something the Tories just have not done. I think I've said this before. The UK judicial system is in an absolute shambles. And if you really want to know how bad like the UK judicial system is, no, I don't have it down here. Go read the book by The Secret Barrister, or go follow The Secret Barrister on Twitter. And you will hear the stories just how bad sort of the UK judicial system is, like the state it is in. It is in a pretty bad state. Well, this was the Dean Dorries video that was done yesterday. That was very, very much highlighted to Hoyle and others, especially Rishi Sunak as well. Like I say, we'll find out on Monday what happens. But yes, going on to this, because they went out and asked in the residents of Uxbridge and Ruislip, what do you think to Johnson? Would you vote for Johnson again? Let's find out, shall we? David, if the UK rejoined the EU, do you think the UK would accept the euro as a main currency? Yeah, I think they would. It would not be much of a stretch, to be honest, for the UK to accept the euro. Why isn't Dean in trouble? Well, you unfortunately missed that segment. Unfortunately, Pagan, you'll have to go back and watch it later. But Nadine Dorries, essentially, for those who have missed, maybe joined in late, maybe didn't see that section, it looks like Nadine Dorries has committed contempt of Parliament. Like I say, we'll probably follow that up next week if something does happen. But like I say, feel free to go watch that section back afterwards. So this was Politics Joe going around and interviewing some of the constituents in Boris Johnson's constituency. And they were asking the simple question: would you vote for Johnson again? So actually, hang on. Did I remember to share? Yes, I did. There we go. There we go. So this is Politics Joe going around and asking the question: would you vote for Boris Johnson again? Remember, this is in Boris Johnson's constituency. we'll see what answers we get.
I think people who voted for him before now see him how he is, trying to fight for his career, and I think a lot of people have changed their minds because of him. They don't like being lied to.
He's probably the best of what we have.
So I get the feeling she's right. I think she's probably the best one. I'm not gonna lie, she's probably the best one I think we're gonna get. And yeah, exactly, Mithril. Exactly. Oof. Oh, Smith, good morning to you. Jamie, good morning to you as well. But yeah, I think when you ask people, this woman here is probably giving most people's general reaction, because they had one opinion of Boris Johnson before, that he was, he was one of them. He was a bit of a lad. He was someone who they would like to, be their prime minister. He was, didn't take himself too seriously. He would like to sort of laugh and sort of joke a bit about it. I think that was the general feeling from a lot of people when they sort of voted for Boris Johnson for the first time. And now they've seen him in power. They've seen him in office. They see how he's acted. I think they've now seen sort of the real Johnson. And bear in mind, this was very much the case with a lot of people in London. Boris Johnson's 2 terms in office, while he won the first sort of mayoral election very easily, he didn't win the second one with as big a majority. So they were, and at least Boris Johnson was worried he would probably lose his third round. So that's why he jumped out of being sort of mayor of London for a third round and went on to sort of become an MP at that point. And one of the things he has constantly always said, he's had massive attacks. I don't think we've ever really covered it, but every single time there has been like a mayoral election down in London, he was like he always attacked the Tory candidate for running such a bad sort of campaign and an election. Like he's really been attacking a lot of the Tory candidates for mayor of London over the past couple of years. And I think he sees London really as his patch, as his big legacy. Because if you want to sort of chart the rise and fall of Boris Johnson, it starts essentially with this big myth that Johnson sort of was this amazing, incredible, dynamic mayor of London. And that's not true. Because Johnson got insulated, he had lots of advisors around him. And those advisors were the ones who were making decisions. There's constant videos of him in sort of the council chamber, of him tussling with other London councillors, essentially calling out the fact that he's lying, calling out all the stuff that's sort of going wrong. The Green Party were a big one. You may remember the whole Grenfell inquiry. There was potentially a point of a moment where Boris Johnson might have been pulled in to the Grenfell inquiry because Johnson had done a lot to defund London fire services. There's a ton of stuff you could go over from the time of Johnson's mayoral London stuff that he was not as good as sort of, shall we say, he himself makes out to be, and partly because he was surrounded and very much insulated. Because at that point, the Conservative Party, or at least the London, the sort of the London Conservative Party, knew how bad Johnson was, so they surrounded him with good advisors. When he went into number 10, Johnson issued all of that and was able to appoint his own cabinet. So it's it's really and then of course, well, we knew all what happened. He pointed all yes men, and he pointed no one who was competent because, well, if they were competent, well, it might make him look bad. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue because
He's probably the best of what we have, unfortunately. And I know that sounds crazy, could sound like that, but
it does.
He's a
Really
more
does.
liberal, but at the same time, he would probably be able to. I think he'll be able to fight this.
That's another of the really big lies, that the idea that that sort of Boris was a liberal. That's the lie that Boris likes to put forward, that, oh, don't worry, you people on the on the sort of the center lefties, I'm a liberal. It's okay to vote for me because, you know, I'm one of you guys. I'm a guy who likes to have a bit of a laugh and a joke. And unfortunately, it convinces people like this that he's a safe vote. That they then feel, well, you know, the rest of the Tories are bad, but it's all right. I'm voting for Boris, you know? And then you get all the crazy stuff that's gone on. Yeah. Yeah, Johnson's never been a leader. Yeah, very true. Tom, Boris's legacy. Inauguration projects started by Ken Livingstone, not building a bridge, overpriced bus models, and getting stuck on a zip wire. Yeah, that's pretty much Boris Johnson's legacy. That's for sure. Absolutely.
And he's just, I think he's got it in him.
But he did come down the Conservative Club occasionally. People reported him sighting of Boris Johnson, but then he supported the sighting of the Loch Ness Monster as well. But he didn't appear very often.
Do you live in Uxbridge?
Yes, I do, just up there.
How do you feel about having Boris as your local MP?
Oh, I'm not happy at all.
I sort of, he's jolly, isn't he? You know, he's sort of.
Yeah, that's it. He's jolly. He's jolly. And I want to point out, because Johnson for years has had such this incredibly good and crafted image that he's sort of gone to sort of maintain to great extent. And it is one of the most well-known, I would say, political figures in the UK, even before he became Prime Minister. Even before he became Prime Minister, sort of Boris was well known. Yeah, that's it. Johnson is a buffoon. Everyone knew Johnson was a buffoon, but it was all right because, you know, it was Boris Johnson. He'll be all right. You know, surely no one would put such a big buffoon in such an important position. Hang on. Can I edit my layout? Can I make myself a bit bigger? There we go. Oh, there we go. There we go. I can make myself a bit bigger now. There we go. That's a bit better. But yeah, this was it. People just saw him as like this really sort of clownish figure, and it worked. It worked for so long. If you've ever seen what is it, John Oliver, and the show that he presents in America, he did an amazing piece about Boris Johnson to show, you know, he had this whole persona that he put out, and it would fool people constantly. And over the years, Johnson's got in so much trouble, but every single year, every single time, he has managed to get out of it. Every single time, Johnson has managed to get out of it. Every single time. And it's been absolutely insane how the scandals that Johnson has been involved in would have toppled any other MP, any other Prime Minister, but Johnson managed to keep on rolling. And that's what eventually brought Johnson down, that there was just the scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal until the Tories just couldn't take it anymore. It's just like, right, we've just got to get rid of him. We're just going to get rid of him. So, let's continue with this.
So now when he gets out of a cab, he roughs his hair up and then he all goes all wobbly and it's part of his act, you know.
It would be nice to have an MP that actually lives here rather than somebody that doesn't. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, the lifestyles are totally different. And yeah, it would be nice to have a proper local MP.
Yeah. Well, it's much like all politicians, I'm afraid. They all lie, don't they? But then that's part of their job, isn't it? I mean, they told the truth. It'd be a terrible place, wouldn't it? Yeah. But I never did like him. But then I'm a socialist, so it's probably not. Yeah. There are some about.
What do you think about Boris Johnson?
Oh, he's a fantastic leader. I do appreciate him and like him since he was. What did he start as? Before he became MP, he was forgotten position, but I follow him. He's a lovely guy. He's a good guy.
I have to.
That was awful. I'm sorry. That was just such a poor assessment. Oh yeah, you know, Boris Johnson's a good leader. You know, I think he's all right. No, that's someone who doesn't follow politics. That's someone who doesn't follow politics, and only really recognizes someone because they've seen them enough times on television to know who they were. Yeah, that's it. Did the interviewer ask why? I would love to see if the interviewer had asked him, why is Boris Johnson such a good leader? I would love to have known what his response would have been to that. Oh.
To preface this by saying I'm actually from Australia and I've been here now 4.5 years. Okay. So I'm not a dinky-die Brit, although my parents were English. But I think he's the worst Prime Minister that I can recall.
From Australian as well, that's quite damning, considering you're the Australian Prime Minister recently.
Well, yes, don't talk to me about the Australian Prime Ministers. I thought I was escaping politics when I came over here, because I landed in this disaster, what with COVID and Boris, yes.
So if Boris Johnson is suspended from the House of Commons for 10 days or more, there will be a by-election here in Uxbridge, so he'll have to fight to remain as an MP for the area. How do you think that would go?
Let's see what the answer she gives. I'm not holding out too much hope. I'm not holding out too much hope for this person. Yeah, politics just showing us that voters are a problem at times. Yeah. And by the way, I've thought about doing a video on this, but I don't know. I really sort of have to do a bit more crafting about how I want to do it. You've obviously seen all the stuff that's going on over in France. And over the years, I have said a couple of times before that I wished, like, the UK public was about as half as much as reactive or as engaged as the French public are about politics. Because everything you're seeing at the moment in France is about the raising of the retirement age. And over the past 10 years, like, I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong or not, but haven't they raised the retirement age like 2 or 3 times? And yet, what's the reaction been from the British public? It's been little to nothing. And yet, you look at Emmanuel Macron raises the, I think, retirement age. Has he raised it by about 2 years or something like that? And it's mass riots, mass everything. Now, I don't think that's the full story. I've been looking into sort of some of the other stuff that's going on. I think there's a bit of the far right have tried to sort of stir things up apparently over there and sort of try to sort of feed fuel to the fire on some of this stuff to try and sort of take down Macron. So, like I say, I'm not 100% sure, but like I say, in France they raised the retirement age by 2 years. Over here they've raised it 3 times in 10 years, and yet what's the reaction from the British public been? Nothing. It's really depressing, honestly. You look at sort of, and not just France, but the rest of Europe. There are a lot more sort of turned on to sort of politics in and around that. So yeah. Was this Kirsten Bolhatman? Retirement age in France is 64. Retirement age in Denmark 72. Well, here's the thing. Denmark, I think you get a lot more. You get a lot more of like return for like your social services and stuff like that from at least what I understand. So I can understand retirement age in Denmark being a lot higher because you get a lot, I think, for sort of what you get. You pay a lot more in taxes, but you also get a lot more stuff back in terms of like sort of like public sort of publican sort of governmental support from what I know. Yeah, exactly. Just protests, practically nothing. Yeah, this is it. It's trust me, it's one of my constant bugbears about this. The fact that you see stuff like that happen in France, and yet happens something very similar happens in the UK. Nothing, nothing, not a peep. And it's just like, and it's because unfortunately the British public isn't as politically active as we would hope. To be honest, I think if the British public was a lot more politically active, Brexit would have never have happened. Like there would have never have been a referendum to even begin with, because Farage and sort of co would have never of gotten anywhere in the European Parliament because people would have at least been active and involved and known what was going on in the European Parliament and recognised that actually voting for UKIP was a dumb idea, so they wouldn't have voted for them. Hence, they would have never have gotten off the ground at all. They would probably maybe still be there in the background, but never as big as they would be. So, yeah, it's yeah. Britain has never done revolutions. Well, it only one and got reversed after 10 years. Yeah. Well, no, it's not true. We had the English Civil War. There was the Second English Civil War. And then, of course, there was the Glorious Revolution. And of course, if you are Dutch, you know it as the Dutch invasion of Great Britain. We just call it the Glorious Revolution. Difference of historical perspective. But there you go. So yeah, let's continue with this. But like I say, I'm not expecting a lot. Like I say, when someone is sort of asking about this, it's like, yeah, yeah, he's the best of the bad lot. But you know, I'd still vote for him because he's the best we've got. And it's just like, really, the best.
Well, I need to see what's on offer, really, because at the moment I don't know. I wouldn't vote Labour.
Why wouldn't you vote Labour?
Because right down there, the leader doesn't know what a woman is.
Okay.
He can't define a woman. So that's enough for me to not vote for them.
That's a strong enough. So that's.
Oh no! Oh no!
Really?
Yeah, that.
This is why you don't engage in culture war issues, because it rots your brain to the point where this woman would probably not vote Labour, even though, again, Labour evangelism time. We've got Labour's Green New Deal, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. You've got the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is going to be an amazing investment opportunity in the UK. You've got the New Deal for Workers, which is not only going to get rid of fire and rehire, it's also going to empower unions as well. You've got Ed Miliband saying that he wants to sort of give unions more power back as well. There's more talk of, again, more devolution. We've seen the positive effects of devolution in these sort of regional mayors for quite a number of years. Of course, the Tories hate it because, well, all their regional mayors tend to lose. They've only got not Jake Berry. Who's the guy in the northeast now? Oh, I can't remember his name. But yeah, he's pinned his entire sort of mayoral success on sort of the building of a free port. That isn't going well at all. Apparently, the free port is rapidly running out of money. There is no money for it. And, well, it's very quickly, I suspect soon, who knows, maybe soon, we will hear that sort of free port that he has built his entire essentially political career on and staking it all on as well will be quickly out of money. Not to mention, of course, the environmental disaster that the building of that is causing in that area. So, yeah. Anyway, let's continue.
That's very that's very important. To answer a simple question, but at the moment he can't answer that, so I don't think I would vote for Labour.
What is it people in, or what do you think people in Uxbridge like about Boris Johnson?
I don't know.
I think people who voted for him before now see him how he is, trying to fight for his career, and I think a lot of people have changed their minds because of him. They don't like being lied to. And they think, especially the poor people, have been let down with their loved ones saying, don't go out, don't do this, don't do that. And because he's seen to be enjoying himself, even though he says it's political and he was just in a meeting, but it was more a meeting because I don't think you need the wine and the cheers and people laughing.
The most sensible person in this entire, probably next to the old man as well. But yeah, I think she's pretty much encapsulates, I think, what people's feeling about that are because of this. Yeah. I think she's very much more encapsulating what the actual feeling of sort of people in the UK really are at the moment, to be honest.
It's not really a political meeting.
It's not like any meeting I've been to. Really.
No, it's not going to be. I don't know how it is. As I say, you have to wait to when the end of this inquiry comes to see what's happening to it.
Do you think this might be the end of Boris Johnson?
Well, I hope so.
Mhm.
I think he's always been a bit of a buffoon. I mean, we watched him on television many times before he was Prime Minister, and he was an idiot. Well, that's in my opinion anyway. But some people love him. They love him to bits.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's what was it? A lot of people have said historically it was the Have I Got News appearance he had, which sort of catapulted him more into the public eye. And even Ian Hislop says that sort of appearance by him on Have I Got News for You was very, very popular. So yeah, well, but yeah, it's like I say, we can only hope, to be honest, that we do get rid of Boris Johnson sort of very soon. Hang on. There we go. But now I want to go over to this, because I think this is well worth sort of wrapping up on what the response from the DUP has been essentially to the Windsor Framework, which pretty much confirms what I've been saying since day one. Doesn't matter what Rishi Sunak could offer. Rishi Sunak could walk out to Holyhead and part the Irish Sea and have a direct land route to Northern Ireland. It wouldn't matter, because it still would not meet with their red lines. It still would not meet with their red lines. Even if Rishi Sunak were to perform this biblical miracle of parting the Irish Sea and creating this land route, it would never happen. It would never, ever happen. They would never agree to it. And this article from BBC just shows how still they are against it. So, first of all, it goes over to comments from Heaton Harris, who is the Northern Ireland Secretary, and I just want to say some of the things that he has said. So, speaking on Thursday, Mr. Heaton Harris said the deal was done and would soon become international law, saying there is no negotiating on this deal, he said. We are now going to put our best efforts into making that deal work. That's for both us and the European Union. So you've got conservative politicians saying very, very clearly, this is it. The deal is done. What better are we going to offer? What better are we going to offer to the British people? This is it. This is as best as it is ever going to be, guys. So you must accept it. Even this was the other thing that happened this week. Angela Eardson in the debate before the bill was voted on was extolling the virtues of the single market. Angela Eardson, prime arch Brexiteer. And yet she's not the only one. She's not the only Brexiteer with this deal who has been extolling the virtues of the single market. It's been unbelievable, the fact that they've gone forward and praised this. I mean, Rishi Sunak, when he first announced this after this sort of the initial deal, when he was in Ireland sort of trying to sell this, pretty much trashed any idea that Brexit was a good idea. And sort of he made basically the argument of that we should all rejoin the single market and customs union. That's the best idea. But anyway, let's get on to what the DUP had to say. So, DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson said that he was, quote, not a quitter and would not give up his campaign for an improved deal. Again, I see what is the DUP deal, though? they've never put one forward. They've just put forward like their 7 red lines, and that was it. These are our 7 red lines, but there's no actual form of what a deal actually looks like. And of course, they're still blocking power sharing in Northern Ireland. And of course, this was what he had to say. He was meeting with Heaton Harris. This is what he had to say. So Jeffrey said that he would work with the government to get the deal changed. You just had the guy said, yeah, that's it, deal done. Why are we going to change the deal now? That's it. This is the best you're going to get, guys. And one of the other thing I think you're going to see is if they continue like this, they've said we might get rid of power sharing. This how Stormont set out that the DUP can sort of have a veto and sort of cause this trouble. The Conservatives are already putting forward ideas that if they continue like this, they're going to sort of remodel Stormont. Now, to do that, again, with the Good Friday Agreement, they would also need sort of the blessing of Ireland and America. But with the way the DUP are acting, they are making it incredibly easier for Ireland and America to say, yes, actually, let's change it so that the DUP can't start causing chaos like this again and again, and basically just deprive Northern Ireland of a functioning government. Anyway, Jeffrey had this to say: "I'm not a quitter. I've never given up in seeking to achieve what we need to achieve," he said. There is the Windsor framework, an element of the sticking plaster. It won't work. It will not deliver the long-term stability and prosperity that Northern Ireland needs. Vast majority of businesses disagree with that. I think every single Northern Ireland business, it was recently put to business, what do they think about this? Every single business in Northern Ireland absolutely loves it because they're still remaining in the single market customs union. To them, 2016 never happened. Brexit has never happened. It's never affected them. They love it. Anyway, Mr. Heaton Harris met with the 5-man Stormont parties at Hillsborough to discuss the new Brexit deal as well as Northern Ireland public finances, which he said were definitely not in a good state. Well, that's because Northern Ireland and the Assembly has not been able to meet because of the DUP. He said that he would have had set the Northern Ireland's budget for the coming year within the next few weeks. If the executives were not up and running soon, he said there are going to be some tough decisions, he said. And this is something that the people of Northern Ireland do not want. You do not want the Tories going, well, tell you what, we'll set your budget for you. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen when the Tory chair gets to set the budget for Northern Ireland? There's going to be a lot of austerity coming to Northern Ireland. A lot of austerity. And remember, just a few years ago, it was Nalleen Foster when she was the leader of the DUP, and she essentially, to support Theresa May, got a massive, shall we say, pot of money for Northern Ireland for supporting Theresa May. And, well, look how well that worked out for Theresa May. Oh. So how are the other parties acted? That's a fair point, actually. In fact, as we've said before, everyone else, when you look at sort of the voting figures, more people voted for parties that support at the time, the Northern Ireland Protocol than they did for parties that didn't. And of course, you could also go look at the fact that Northern Ireland voted overwhelmingly to stay in the European Union. So, Sinn Féin Vice President Michelle O'Neill said the DUP had to stop their boycott of the Stormont executive so that ministers can take control of the budget. Ministers had to be imposed to make the case to the Treasury for extra funding for Northern Ireland, Mr. O'Neill said. This budget is about to cause catastrophic damage to public services, he said. It is. And This should be their tactic, that any of the damage to sort of public services, don't blame us, blame the DUP. Don't even blame the UK government, blame the DUP. They're the ones doing this. And in thus, you can now make the argument for changing how Stormont works so that DUP cannot just hold hostage this government, because they're acting like children. And they are only in this position because they got rid of Theresa May and her idea, because, well, they were convinced, I highly suspect, by the ERG to sort of rebel. They were then thrown under the bus by Boris Johnson, because obviously Boris Johnson said that, no UK Prime Minister could ever tolerate a border down the Irish Sea, but yet a couple of months later, that's the exact thing he did with his protocol. They then got the protocol. They then had to live with it. They didn't like it. So now they've thrown the pram out of the toys out of the pram, and now they've got the Windsor Framework, which essentially really nothing has changed. There's just now 2 lanes. You've got your green lane that goes from UK to Northern Ireland, and now the other lane for any goods going on into Ireland. That is essentially what has happened. You've just created an extra lane for which goods these flow on. And also, it stopped any UK divergence as well. This is something else a lot of other people haven't pointed out, but we've got to watch with interest what happens to the retained EU law bill now. Because just like that, and the Brexit bill, the Northern Ireland Brexit bill, that could be dropped as well. So that is something I'm going to sort of try and keep an eye on, see if Rishi Sunak sort of quietly drops that. Bear in mind, you've seen how powerless now the ERG are. If they are that powerless, Rishi Sunak can take the risk and just get rid of those bills. So where were we? Because cash donated to public services, she said. So the DUP needs to get around the table with the rest of us to make politics work. The Alliance Party MP Stephanie Farry said that Northern Ireland was bleeding at present, with problems piling up and public services in real crisis. He said the party had asked the UK government to consider providing a financial package, and it appeared that the door was open to that. This will require the parties in Northern Ireland to work together to make a very persuasive case to the Treasury, he said. So it reinforces the impetus on the DUP to join with the rest of us and ensure that we have a proper government here. Ulster Unis Assembly member Robbie Butler said the level of budget cuts on the cliff edge at the moment was actually quite alarming. He urged the DUP to accept the difficulties with the Windsor Framework and just put the people of Northern Ireland first. The Social Democratic and Labour Party leader, Colin Eastwood, said the DUP had to accept that it could not get everything it wanted from the new Brexit deal. We have a huge opportunity with this deal to both trade with the UK and the EU with markets unencumbered, said the Foyle MP. People in Britain would give their right arm to have that opportunity. Yeah, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. Well, yeah, that's it. So what the DUP are going to do? Well, the DUP are going to do exactly what they've done all the time. They're just going to continue being obstructionist. And I don't think we will see potentially any Stormont election this year. I think they're hoping that the DUP will go back in to power sharing. Or at least that's their hope. But the DUP's got no reason to. The DUP has got absolutely no reason to. I think we're just going to get to the point where they're going to have to sort of, our government's going to have to approach Ireland and the US and say, look, this is the situation. We need to change how Stormont works so that the DUP or other parties like this in the future cannot hold the whole sort of system to ransom. And look at what's happening as a cause of this. You are seeing massive public sector cuts in Northern Ireland because they haven't had a functioning government. They haven't been able to sort stuff out. They know there are problems, but they can't do anything because the assembly is not functioning. So they can't elect any ministers. Civil servants over there basically locked in eternal limbo, making sure that, you know, things keep on running, but they can't do anything to solve problems because they need the ministers to be able to approve those changes or be able to take them to Stormont to then get those voted on. So that's the situation in Northern Ireland. You know, it's the chaos carousel rumbling on again and again and again, just as we said it would from the very beginning. But with that said, like I say, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. Even though it hasn't rained, we could have probably gone outside and done a good morning walk today outside, given the way it hasn't rained. But anyway, never mind. Like I say, it's always good to do some things a bit different. But obviously, next weekend we will be out and about, as always, out in the fields. Hopefully, if it doesn't rain, of course. But until then, of course, as always, guys, thank you very much for all the support you show the channel. Please do remember to click on the like, share, and leave a comment down below as well about it for the channel. It helps with all the algorithmical stuff and whatnot as well. And as always, guys, thank you very much coming along. There are links down below from my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can all buy me coffee. There's the Pony Club you can join as well. I'm sure you see the guys in the chat with sort of the badges. That's sort of they're members of the Pony Club. And of course, there's the YouTube thank you button as well. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fantastic as always. And of course, have a good weekend. As always, be safe. If you can't be safe, be sensible. And we'll see you next weekend for another good morning walk. And of course, watch out for more videos this week as well. Probably talking certainly about Nadine Dorries and her punishment and her stupidity of what she said in that little clip on Talk TV. Expect that probably to crop up at some point next week. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.